All right, the time is now 3:30. We will call this meeting of the Paris Union High School District Board meeting to order at 3:30. Okay, we'll start with the 3.1, invitation to address the Board of Trustees on closed session items only. Any takers?
You do a roll call first, don't you?
Oh, I'm sorry, didn't show up. My bad. My bad. We'll go back. All right, we will start with a roll call and make sure we have a quorum. So when I call your name, please tell me if you're here or not. Dr. Arouse? Dr. Freeman? Yes. Trustee Vallejo? Trustee Stafford?
Here.
And myself, Trustee Nellison, are all here. We do have a quorum. Now we'll go to there it is, 3.1, invitation to address the Board of Trustees on closed session items. Do we have a motion? And do we have any takers as well?
No takers today.
No takers,
Mr.
thank you.
Nelson.
My bad. This is where we need the motion for an adjournment to closed session. Do I have any takers? I see by a raised hand, which doesn't count. So,
Second.
okay, we got Dr. Freeman. I'm sorry, who was the second? Dr. Rouse was the second. All right, please vote. All right, and 4.1 passes, 5 in favor, 0 opposed, and we are adjourned to closed session at 3:32. All right, it is now 5 o'clock. We'll go ahead and reconvene. Hey, we're reconvening. Reconvening in public session at 5 o'clock.
Oh, boy.
We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Right hand over your heart. Ready to begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The invocation, Mr. Stafford.
Just a moment of silence for anyone who has suffered a loss and for all the losses in the world going on today. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stafford. All right. It leads us to 7.1, where we recess this board meeting to move into the California Military Institute charter meeting. We are recessed at 5:01. See how my meeting is up. You guys can join when you. Yeah, just refresh. I believe you're fine. Is everyone in?
I get there, okay.
Anna says you are, so you're good. All right, so we are calling the order the California Military Institute regular board meeting at 5:02. First up, 3.1, revision, adoption, ordering of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Arouse and Dr. Freeman with the second. Please vote. All right, 3.1 passes 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Next up, 4.1, information items, student representative to the Board of Trustees. And I am introducing CMI Student Representative Cadet Colonel Katura Weeks.
Evening, members of the board, Mr. Bennett, and members of the cabinet. For those that don't know me, my name is Cadet Colonel Katura Weeks, the 9th Brigade Commander, and in this presentation, I'll be going over what's been happening here at CMI. I want to start off by highlighting some of the accomplishments of both CMI students and our administrators. Our seniors have been doing great this year, starting the semester strong with FAFSA and college application submissions. We've now submitted almost all of our financial aid applications. And in terms of our sports and activities, our boys volleyball team and our track and field team have both officially started their seasons. With that, Linker is going to be doing fun activities at lunch with our freshmen, and our annual military ball is finally approaching. Moving on to our ROTC-related activities, we recently had an NCOA with a whopping 47 cadets in attendance. These cadets have been working really hard towards their promotion, even after the event, regardless of how difficult it's been for them. So on Friday, March 11th, we had the pleasure of promoting 22 more cadets. In terms of our upcoming events, we have the California Cadet Corps Extreme Team Challenge from March 11th to the 13th, the Link Crew Lunch event starting on March 18th, the annual military ball on March 26th, our annual general inspection, or AGI, on March 30th, and our officer candidate school, April 8th to April 10th. And I want to go a little more in depth about the AGI. So just so you all have a better understanding of what AGI is, the annual general inspection is a formal inspection of our unit and our cadet staffs. It's designed to assess our unit's ability to perform drill, our professional conduct, and our planning and organization of brigade events. The image is just a little preview of the presentation that we'll be presenting to our inspectors. But with that, I'd like to conclude this presentation. If you have any questions, comments, or concern about any of the information that was presented in this presentation, please feel free to refer them to the adult president representing CMI. Thank you so much for listening and have a fantastic evening.
Thank you, Cadet Colonel Weeks. Next one up is 4.2, CMITA President Angel Love Behrens. I've been informed she is not here today.
Right, she sent an email saying she wouldn't be here this evening.
Okay. All right, 4.3, Principal's Update. I do not see the principal, is he?
The assistant principal from CMI,
Oh.
Rebecca Beagle's here.
Absolutely, by all means, come on up.
I have to share something afterward anyway, so. Happenings at CMI, you heard a lot of it from Ms. Weeks. We almost have 100% completion of FAFSA. We are really excited about military ball coming up because obviously we could not have that last year. So we're excited to see that happen again in person, and that's going to be at March Air Reserve Base. So that's a new place we haven't been to, at least since I've been there for this 4 years now. I am going to get myself and Dr. Milos, who will be back on Friday. He's at a conference now, but we will be getting a pie in the face from some 9th grade students for Link Crew. All for Link Crew. So just some fun events happening. We have lots of motivational academic things happening as well. We just had 6-week grades come out, so students know what their GPA should be. I love fifth graders coming up to me and asking how they can get their GPAs up. When I was an elementary teacher, my little kids did not know what a GPA was, but that's the beauty of being at CMI is to kind of focus on that kind of thing along with upper grade students as well, since we're focused on college going. So that's the happenings. I'm not sure if I'm staying up here for that second part though. Okay, sounds good.
Thank you very much. All right, that leads us to 5.1, information item, the invitation to address the Board of Trustees on non-agendized items. I do not see any from CMI. No takers?
No
Thank
takers
you.
from CMI.
That's okay. No problem. All right, that leaves us 6.1, consent calendar. Do we have any a motion?
So moved.
Dr. Freeman, Dr. Rouse for the second. Okay, please vote. And 6.1 has been approved, 5 in favor, 0 opposed. And then an oral report, information item 7.1, CMI A through G completion improvement grant plan.
This is
Yeah.
where
And whom do we have for this?
Miss Beagle's going to come up.
Ms.
and-
Beagle's coming up for this one, all right.
And then I'll need to present. you. So I have the pleasure to present on our A through G completion improvement grant. So this is just going to be some information to present to you. If I miss anything, I know that I have two people behind me that will gladly fill in some of the gaps in case I miss anything. But just to get into the presentation, we're obviously anything that we're adding to our programs are directly related to our LCAP goals, which we see here. I won't go into the exactly what they are because I'm sure you know them, but this does directly relate to our LCAP goals. What it is specifically is to increase the number of California high school pupils, basically our graduation rate and our A through G eligibility. Our funds are targeted to serve students in high school grades, 9 through 12, and then they will be used for activities that directly support them in successfully completing A through G requirements. In regards to the funding itself, the allocation will be based on equal amounts per unduplicated pupils based on CalPADS, the numbers from the 2021 CalPADS, and also the fall, fiscal year fall 1 submission. Funds are available throughout the 25-26 school year, and you'll see the CMI allocation there over $428,000. Here's a breakdown of the many different programs that have been implemented from the 2021 school year. Again, I won't go through all of them. You probably know a lot of them, but you'll notice down even on the bottom is the A through G completion improvement grant and how that is going to directly help with the other programs that we do have, and then even leading into 25-26 school year. I'll leave that up there just for another moment. So regarding how this is going to, how we're going to use the funding, 25% of there's a district counselor that's going to be hired, and then there are 2 counselors that are rotating to different sites. 25% of our funding will go towards those attainment of those counselors for the district, so we'll get to see them hopefully 25% of the time as well. It'll also allow us to build more credit recovery courses, specifically related to A through G credit recovery, because sometimes when we hear credit recovery, it might just be recovering credits just for graduation, but this is specifically related to A through G recovery rates. And any other additional courses of rigor related to A through G courses are getting them even back on track. Let's say they've lost their way because of pandemic, or even the result right now that we're dealing with of recovering credits for a pandemic. So any course revisions, any development of new courses, or if courses are outdated, like AP courses, money would be allocated to increase the rigor of those courses and the revisions of those courses. Also, it'll give us some funds to take a look, do some transcript audits. That takes time. So time, people, money, to allow us to ensure that we are actually providing the correct A through G courses for them. And then also data tracking, monitoring, using multiple means of data tracking to ensure that our CCGI, or our college going rate, is being impacted correctly with the funds from this grant. And then lastly, this is just the breakdown of how this money would be used. You'll notice that staffing is $45,000 every year throughout the 2025-26 school year. Incentives and supports, so that would be that curriculum instruction, professional development for teachers, for AP, things like that, AP teachers, dual enrollment, professional development, that would be part of that middle line, that yellow line there, the 62,000. And then you notice the totals there, that's where we get the 428,000 plus in regards to our grant. So that concludes my presentation. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Not usually the one to have this, but I noticed that your staffing remained flat for the whole term. That would have to be adjusted annually depending on how you negotiate the salary for the following year, isn't it?
My understanding, and you can correct me, there would be no new staffing for CMI. It's the staffing that is a part of the 25% of funding that is being used by district. So we would be we would be getting the 25% of the district helping us with the extra staffing. So for instance, if after a 6-week grading period, we have many high school students who've kind of gone off, have Fs or Fs, and we need to touch base with them, we could potentially reach out to the district, say, hey, can we get the extra counselors that were funded through 25% of our funding on these specific days, get them maybe even to cover our counseling office, so then our counselors can go out, reach out to those students, meet with them. So just some extra support from district level.
Okay, thank you.
Any others? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. 8.1, information item, discipline, February 2022 monthly suspension report. 9.1 is an action item, certificated personnel action items. Do I have a motion? Trustee Stafford, Trustee Vallejo. Please vote. Nine point one passes, 5 in favor, 0 opposed. 9.2 is also an action item. So we're on to classified personnel action items. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Freeman and Dr. Arouse. Please vote. Okay, 9.2 passes, 5 in favor, 0 opposed. 9.3, personnel. This is 2022-23 and also 23-24 and 24-25. California Military Institute student and teacher calendars. Do I have a motion? Trustee Vallejo, Trustee Stafford. Okay, please vote. Nine point three passes, 5 in favor, 0 opposed. 10.1, other items by the superintendent.
Nothing this evening.
Thank you very much. 11.1, other items by the Board of Trustees. We'll go down the line. Dr. Rouse?
Nothing at this time.
Dr. Freeman?
No.
Trustee Vallejo? Trustee Stafford? And nothing for me for CMI today. Thank you. 12.1, adjournment. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Trustee Stafford, I think Trustee Vallejo beat you just by a little bit. All right, please vote. All right, 12.1 passes, 5 in favor, 0 opposed, and we are adjourned for CMI at 5:16. The other meeting is up if you guys would like to join. You having trouble getting in? Okay. If you press the refresh button at the top, quite often you'll be able to relog back in. She's on now? Okay, thank you very much. All right, so we will reconvene our normal Paris Union High School District Board meeting at 5:17. And that leads us to 8.1, the revision, adoption, ordering of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Dr. Freeman and Mr. Stafford, and I believe we have a change needs to be made.
Yes, President Ellison, I made a mistake, and we have one agenda item on there twice. So we're going to ask to pull item 11.6. It's a duplicate.
Okay. All right, so when we vote, we're voting for the adoption of the agenda without 11.6. So please vote. Okay, 8.1 passes, 5 in favor, 0 opposed. And that moves us to 9.1, report out of closed session. Any report today?
We do have a report out of closed session this evening. In closed session by a vote of 5-0, the Board of Trustees approved the appointment of Julia Mendoza Blyde as Athletic Director Dean of Paloma Valley High School.
Thank you very much. And information item 9.2, district update by the superintendent.
I have a few things here I'd like to share with the board and our public. The Western Riverside County Association of School Managers, that's the organization for our local area for kind of like almost like administrators union, but it's not a union. But we represent administrators throughout the state, and we have a local charter, which the acronym is RACSM, which covers 13 districts here in Riverside County. And we're proud to announce that we had 3 winners from RACSM for Employees of the Year this year. Juan Santos was selected as Principal of the Year for RACSM. His assistant principal, Greg Wise, was selected as Assistant Principal of the Year for secondary schools. And then Ms. Fetzner down here, she's shaking her head. She doesn't like the accolades, as Confidential Employee of the Year for the RACSM. She's giving me a dirty look right now. Coming up on April 2nd, we're holding our annual Puma Golf Tournament. It's Parish Union Management Association. All the administrators in the district we put on a golf tournament to raise funds to give scholarships to kids graduating from our schools. So we're having that on April 2nd. It'll be a nice event out there at Seven Hills in Hemet. Right now we're sitting at 88 golfers. So I have 3 foursomes I could still fill. So if anybody knows somebody wants to play, because they cap us at 100, so we'd love to be able to do more for our kids. I was lucky enough to attend down at Cal State San Marcos. I was invited down there to meet with the president of the university, Dr. Ellen Neufeld, and we were talking about the collaboration we have with our district and Cal State San Marcos, where if our kids earn a certain grade point average, they get automatic admission into the university. So we're glad that we can work with them and work together to make it better for our kids. Last week, I'm part of the Rotary Club of Paris. Every year we do a speech contest, and we had a student from Paris Lake High School, first time we've ever had a student from a continuation school come, named Ethan Castro, and he won the contest at the event, and he's going to move on to the district 5330 event that'll come up in April. So we're really excited to see that, and it's cool to have a kid from a continuation school, very, very well-spoken young man. Then I have a couple more that Diane Martin sent me, so I'm giving her credit for this. The Best Awards, Bilingual Educators Succeeding Together, recognition celebrations coming up on Friday. Bless you.
Bless you.
April 8th at the Riverside Convention Center. And we have a long group of nominees that are up for awards there. Brenda Burgo from Pinacati Middle School is up for Administrator of the Year. Rosa Heredia is up for Teacher of the Year from Pinacati. Paraeducator Laura Ortega from Paris High is up for Paraeducator of the Year. Support Personnel of the Year, Elsa Serafine from Pinacati Middle School is up for the award. Parent Nancy Lopez from CMI up for award. And our student essay winner from CMI, Michelle Hernandez, who will be receiving a $1,000 scholarship. So it's great to see the great work that they're doing with our kids, and thank you for sharing that with me, Diane. Paris Union High School District, in conjunction with the City of Paris, will be hosting a 5K color fun run on Saturday, April 23rd. Then the event will be open to everyone, PUHSD students, employees, and community. The event registration will open next week, and we look forward to all of us joining doing a 5K. It doesn't mean you have to run. You can walk. You can walk.
How about 5 Zs?
I usually say I run the 5K because I run the clock for it.
When is that?
It's April 22nd,
April
23rd, I'm sorry. Saturday, April 23rd.
Saturday. Okay.
PUHD had the final First Tech Challenge Regional Championship in Monrovia this past Saturday. 3 teams from Heritage performed very well, although they didn't make it to the next step. But they did a great job. But on a good note there, Stacy McPherson was named Volunteer of the Year for FTC, and we're so proud and thankful of all the work she has done, not only for the Heritage High School team, but for the district robotics program as a whole. So we're glad to see Stacy do that. And that would conclude my report for this evening, Mr. Nelson.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bennett. Okay. Leads us to 9.3, information items or reports by the student representatives to the Board of Trustees. So I guess I am starting out introducing Heritage High School student representatives Michaela Jacobs and Caden Olmos.
Good evening, members of the board, Mr. Bennett, and members of the cabinet. My name is Michaela Jacobs. We are excited to show you what has been going on here at Heritage in the month of March. Last Friday, Juan and his team from the New Project came on campus to offer some of our students a leadership training. It was an awesome experience for these students as all of the activities they brought had a meaning behind it to help each student grow as an individual. We look forward to seeing them work with other student groups in the future. We also wanted to recognize the outstanding season that our girls varsity basketball. Last we spoke of them, they had completed the regular season and were heading to CIF. Our Lady Patriots advanced all the way to CIF semifinals and advanced to CIF state regional. Their season came to an end with a record of 22-6. Congratulations to these ladies for the best season of our school has ever had. Our annual FAFSA Fiesta took place last Tuesday, and it was a huge turnout. Heritage High School has the highest submission in Riverside County, and we're currently number 5 in the state. We gave out a ton of prizes from food gift cards all the way up to grand night tickets. A huge thanks to our counseling department for putting together this successful event. Here are a few upcoming events. Open house and 8th grade orientation, March 24th. Spring rally, March 25th. Annual Patriot Olympics, March 25th. Prom tickets go on sale, March 28th. High attendance event, April 6th. Prom at San Diego Zoo, April 30th. That concludes our presentation. Thank you so much for the continued support of what we do at Heritage. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Jacobs. And Trustee Freeman.
Well, I'm pleased to present the Liberty High School student representatives, Moena Mu and Samantha Sena.
We are holding an open house for... Good evening, members of the board, Mr. Bennett, and members of the cabinet. My name is Moena Mu, and I'm Liberty High School's ASB Vice President. Here are some of the things that will be happening at Liberty High School during the month of March. On March 17th, we are holding an open house for parents to get to know Liberty High School by walking around the campus, meeting teachers, coaches, counselors, and club advisors, and learning about our unique pathways at the school. Simultaneously, the 8th grade orientation will be held, where 8th graders from middle schools around the area will have the opportunity to explore the campus as well. The week of March 14th through 18th will be our Spring Fling Spirit Week. Spirit days will include Old versus Young, White Lie Day, Western Wednesday, Green and Gold Day, and Neon Day. On March 18th, Liberty will have its first pep rally located in the stadium. Performances will be done by stunt cheer, band, and dance. Student athletes will also be recognized. It will be neon lights themed in accordance with our dance, which will occur the next day. On March 19th, Liberty will have its first annual Spring Fling Neon Lights Dance. The dance will be neon lights themed and have a taco and ice cream truck available on site. Backdrops, a dance floor, and photos taken by a photography club will also be available. This month we are celebrating Gabriel Ladner Mejia, who is a teacher here at Liberty, and Jaron Halili, who is a secretary here at Liberty. This concludes our presentation. Thank you so much for your support in making Liberty High School happen. Go Bison!
Thank you, Ms. Mu. Trustee Stafford.
I'd like to introduce from Paloma Valley High School student representatives Megan McCantigay and Cassie Madigro.
Hello, Paris Union School Board and Superintendent Mr. Bennett. I'm Megan Macatangay. I'm Paloma Valley's ASB Treasurer.
I am Catherine Madrigal, and I am Paloma Valley's Social Media Chair Representative.
And we're here to update you guys on what Paloma's been up to the past month. To start things off, we started off our spring sports. We have boys tennis, boys golf, baseball and softball, track, swim, boys and girls lacrosse, and boys volleyball.
Our PV song and cheer team hosted their very first tryouts of the year. It was a great way for our students to come in and get involved in our school spirit.
Speaking of our PV song and cheer teams, they both won first place in both of their divisions during the Sharp cheer competition a couple weeks ago.
Our RTC also hosted their AMI, which is their annual military inspection. We had visitors like our own mayor, our athletic director, and our former alumni. Also during this time, their new top 9 leadership was announced.
A bunch of our programs and clubs went out to the middle schools to help recruit incoming 8th graders who will be 9th graders. Some of the middle schools they visited were Menifee Valley and Hans Christensen. Some of the programs that were over there were NJROTC, Biomed, AVID, Auto Mechanics, and ASB.
Last week, our very own ASB hosted their Spirit Week. On Monday, we had Mad Hatter's Tea Party, which was wear anything but a hat. Tuesday, Tweedledum and Tweedledee, twin up and match. Wednesday, Down the Rabbit Hole, which was our class distinction day, where freshmen wore green, sophomores purple, juniors yellow, and seniors blue. On Thursday, it was Honor Their Word Cream, so we wore a crown. And on Friday, it was We're All Mad Here, which was wear neon.
We also had our very first spring pep rally and the first full pep rally of the entire school year. We had performances by Ohana Mahi Aloha, ASL, The Exclusive, Pump Song, Comp Cheer, and Anomal. Thank you so much for your time, and we hope to see you guys next month.
All right, thank you, ladies. Next, Trustee Arouse.
I will introduce the Paris High School student rep, Nicole de la Torre Hernandez and Daisy Sanchez.
You can count on me like 1, 2, 3.
Good evening, President Ellison and School Board.
Good evening, Superintendent Bennett and Cabinet.
I'm Nicole.
And I'm Daisy.
And we are your school board representatives for Paris High.
Let's take a look at what we've been going on this past month.
On the 17th, we had our very own Bob Ross Paint Night,
in which our 4 ASB advisors came together and created this amazing artistic night for our Panthers.
Miss Osuna led it, and she gave us directions on how to paint. Super fun.
There was about 73 Panthers that came out, and here's some clips.
Find tranquility. Oh, the canvas can do miracles. Just you wait and see. Believe me. It's not far.
On March 4th, we had our spring rally, and what is spring without a little visit from Mother Nature? We had a very light drizzle.
It kind of made the whole event a little more fun. We had our spring sports come out and announce themselves for the season. We had track, we had volleyball come out, baseball. It was really fun. We had swim too.
We had cheer performed their last performance for the school year. We had dance also do a little dance.
We have some clips too.
Oh yeah. Okay, so.
Bless you.
On the 4th, we had our Pinnacotti Showcase.
We had some of the Pinnacotti Pumas come out and see what it's like in the Panther shoes. There was about 200 family members that came out that night. We gave them a tour of the school.
They were able to see culinary, AVID, drama, auto.
Yeah.
They also
also saw us make our posters for prom. Yeah. That was really cute. And we have an interview for you from Mr. Walters, so check that out.
Everybody, I just wanted to take a second to say the Penicotti Parent Showcase was such an awesome experience. We had several families come into our theater space where we were actually preparing for our high school musical. So they actually got to see some of the behind-the-scenes stuff where we were painting flats and building sets. So anyways, it was a real big success. And just as a little side note, a shameless plug, we do have our high school musical production coming up next week, which is Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, March 24th through the 26th at 7 p.m. So I hope to see some of you there.
On March 7th, Lean Crew introduced something new, which is called Those Stress Mondays. Yeah, so last Monday we had Play Day, and we introduced a bunch of childhood games like Foursquare, Tetherball, Jump Rope, a bunch of chalk too. We had a lot of participation during those lunches. It was really fun to see us get back into the groove, being on campus and just enjoying each other's presence. Right. Yeah. So we haven't seen the clips for that. Now the end of the year is coming along, so of course we have to introduce a little bit of a shameless plug here. If you'd like to support our seniors, you can go ahead by buying stuff, buying our merch from our online store. Buying our senior hoodies, really cute, I can do them myself. The link will be posted somewhere around. Feel free to go on, take a look, and our seniors would really appreciate it. That's all for us today. We're social, be social. Follow us on our social medias, and we hope you have a great rest of your night. Thank you for listening to us today. Bye.
All right, thank you, ladies. And that leads us to Trustee Vallejo.
I'd like to introduce Penicotti Middle School student reps Belinda Hain and Adrina Leon.
Hello, my fellow school board members and members of the Academy. I am Belinda Hain, and with you today is
Adrina Leon.
Penicotti Middle School Presentation 2022.
What has happened at Penicotti Middle School, also known as PMS? Game Truck. The Game Truck was back on February 17th. Penicotti students had a great time.
Black History Month. Penicotti Middle School acknowledged Black History Month by giving an annual observance of accomplishments and contributions African Americans have made. In honor of Black History Month, Ms. Herring and ASB students created a beautiful art gallery walk. Also, there was a virtual classroom created to engage the students in the school in different virtual activities, including a scavenger hunt, matching game, and Spotify playlist. Motivational Assembly. On February 17th, 7th grade students had a motivational assembly. This assembly was held by Omar Negative and his grade team. On February 21st, the 8th grade students had their promotion requirements assembly. This assembly was held by our amazing Vice Principal, Mr. Raylo, staff, and some ASB members.
President's Day. On February 21st, it was President's Day. Penicotti Middle School had no school from February 21st to the 25th.
8th Street Classic Basketball Game. On February 9th, Penicotti Middle School had an 8th Street Classic Basketball Game. This basketball game was held at Paris High School. Both our girls team and boys team won this event.
Valentine's Day Spirit Week. For the week of February 14th, Penicotti Middle School had a Valentine's Day Spirit Week that all students were able to participate in. Upcoming events: Uno Tournament, Penicotti Carnival, Saturday School, Leadership Day, Pot of Gold, Spirit Week, and Ram Sale.
All great achievements require time. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. And with that, we go to information item 9.4, CSEA President Josh Rushing.
I don't see Mr. Rushing here this evening.
And nobody else from CSEA? Okay. Next item, 9.5 PSEA President Jason Miller.
Teachers recently voted on bell schedules related to the infamous 8:30 start time. The 8:30 start time was passed by the legislature a few years ago that basically said students begin high school no earlier than 8:30 a.m. and middle school no earlier than 8 a.m. The state may have been a little short-sighted. I'm not sure they fully grasp that every district has their own individual needs, whether it is busing or morning programs, and so that policy seems contradictory to the idea of local control. While the intent of the legislature may have been based on idealistic motives to give students more time to get to school and sleep in, the unfortunate piece that did not seem to factor in was the reality that you cannot mandate earlier start times for working parents to be at work. So you may have a lot of students hanging out on our campus for a time in the mornings. The district created the bell schedules for the 8:30 start times with input from PSA, and that is fine because the bell schedules seem pretty good and were very thoughtful. One of the elements that seemed to resonate with some members is that we do not have to stay terribly late in the day. When I first heard about the 8:30 start time, I had it in my head that it would shift our school day 45 minutes for everything, and we wouldn't be out or finished until about 3:50 p.m. But the bell schedules were crafted in such a way that the end time for the comprehensive high schools was pushed back only 20 minutes to about 3:30 p.m. We hope you understand that from teacher perspectives, if a terrible bell schedule is implemented, teachers have to live with that daily and hourly, whereas an administrator is not necessarily bound by a set daily schedule. These are not terrible bell schedules by any means. It seems that bell schedules are a hard topic to deal with for PSEA teachers and administrators because there are a lot of perspectives on what teachers want, especially since we have a wide variety of programs throughout our district. The 8:30 start times were crafted with some time for planning, mostly in the morning at the comprehensive high schools. Teachers really like this idea, and they definitely want that time for planning lessons and developing their classes. Teachers are hoping that this time in the mornings is not filled with those types of meetings that may not have a lot of value to teachers in the classroom. Have you ever been in an educational meeting where you were like, really? Why did we need this? No offense to anyone, but I have been in some meetings like that. Let's not have meetings just for the sake of having a meeting. It should have some real reason that a meeting needed to happen or don't have the meeting. P.S. That is not to say all meetings have no value, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. With all that being said, PSEA stands behind the idea that this planning time in the mornings is for planning and working. This time is not for employees to waltz in at 8:25 a.m. when their workday started at 8 a.m. just because they did not have students. Thank you for this time to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. And that leads us to 9.6, comments by the Board of Trustees. Dr. Rouse?
Thank you, Mr. Nelson, President Nelson. I just want to comment on officially mentioning about the resolution that our board took some time ago. That is the equity resolution, and have a presentation on. I know that the district has been addressing this element for quite some time, but it is important to be aware of the specific actions that are being taken by the district that are going to benefit our students and ensure the equity for all, right? In every board meeting, we turn to our flag, and at the end, we talk about liberty and justice for all. So that is reflected in, we would like just to have the specifics of what we are doing in that respect. My other comment is, as all of you know, last October, Governor Newsom signed into law, I believe it's AB 101. 101 is sponsored by our local legislator, Mr. Jose Medina, the state legislator, to require a high school graduation requirement. It's redundant, right? Require high school ethnic studies. But that is going to be starting, according to this legislation, with the class of 2030. So it is required the first year to be, what would be 25, 26, right? We are in the 22, 23. So I was wondering, and I would like to ask the board in the district to look into why waiting until 25, 26? If our students, based on the demographics that we have in our district, I think is a must that they are aware. They are aware of all the contributions that Latinos, African American, Indian Americans, Asian Americans, minority groups have done to our country. That they are aware of the legacy that had been brought to this society, to things that make our students proud, and that they can learn a curriculum that is reflecting people like them, and they can say, I can do that too, right? So that's, and I'm mentioning this because I think that is an important element to foster the equity, to foster the achievement of our students. And this brings me to the third comment that I would like to mention. There is some research on anti-stereotype threat pedagogy. We're using neuroscience, specifically neurobiology, to address the differential and the learning outcomes of our students. All of our students are capable enough to learn. We just need to provide the resources and the ways and guide them and motivate them in order for them to achieve and reduce to the minimum that differential on the learning outcomes. I'm not calling the achievement gap that. It's a differential on the learning outcomes, and we can address that. So I'm not, as a board, we cannot tell you exactly what to do, right, or how to do it. But it's just a recommendation, something that I'm aware of, that I learned about this research through UCLA, and that definitely it will benefit tremendously our students. And I'm sure our teachers are going to be happy to embrace that. I have heard comments from teachers that they are really happy and excited to look into something that is going to allow them to support the students in a better way, addressing that from, how I'm saying, the neuroscience and the neurobiology applied to minimize the effects of the stereotype threat. So those are the three comments that I wanted to make, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rouse. Dr. Freeman?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm very glad that Mr. Miller brought up what he did, because over the last 20 years, I've been able to look at some research projects that were conducted on when high school students should be coming to school. And they not only all agreed that they needed to start later, but they said the ideal time would be 10 o'clock. And I think, boy, wouldn't that be something? But on the other hand, they think, all right, how are we going to deal with students who are working late? How are you going to work with students who are doing their homework in the early hours? I mean, these are the types of things that I think brought toward that, along with the idea that these young people really need more sleep. But, I remember being a teenager, and I don't think that was something that was high on my list. So I agree. I think that you're right. We were being treated like teenagers. They give you local control until they figure that dad needs to step in. And, of course, there's the right way, the wrong way, and then there's a political way. So that's something we're going to have to live with, and I'm glad that we have a good communication about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Freeman. Trustee Vallejo?
I just wanted to congratulate Mr. Santos, Mr. Wise, and Anna. You guys are doing fantastic. You guys are doing amazing. Obviously, your efforts do not go unnoticed, but I appreciate you guys a lot. I also want to just touch base on how the world's not going great right now. It's not going good right now. And I just wanted to let everyone here know, staff, faculty, parents, that we are a district that we are very adamant and proud that we are aware of mental health issues and mental illness. And if you guys don't know what to do, always reach out to us because we do have many resources available here. And especially during times like this, it's really hard to even ask what to do, what to say. But I can tell that we are a great district where we want to hear from you guys, all of you guys, because it's been really, really rough for all of us. And also, I can't wait to go to the Paris High School musical. It's on the 24th, 25th, 26th at 7. If you guys want to come. It's a really great drama club. I was in it when I was in high school, so it was pretty cool. And I hope to see you guys there.
Excuse me. Thank you, Trustee Vallejo. Trustee Stafford?
I just want to say a few words about unity and what has gotten us to this point. Is that not? Check. Okay. I just want to say a few words. Oh, that's hers.
It's allergic to his voice.
Well, we tried to unify on that one, but it's really fantastic. We're beginning to exhale a little bit and get back to normal, get some of the things done that we've all envisioned. It's amazing how we're getting through this school year so fast. It's almost done. Just thank you to all of the staff and to everyone that's doing things in the best interest of the students. That's what we're here for, the students. And we're here to oversee, but participate, support, and show some care and understanding. So I think we're communicating so well, and we're used to dealing with the difficult subjects we have to. And really, it's a strong point, and it really feels as though it's going to work for us. So let's keep at it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stafford. And for me, I'd like to just at least bring up the fact that we don't have to have masks in schools anymore for the students unless they feel like it's necessary, which is perfectly fine. But I know it's been a hot button topic, and I would also like to thank both the Lion ladies who showed up the last couple of months to give your comments. We really do appreciate you coming in and giving us the information you have. Unfortunately, sometimes our hands are tied in certain things that we'd like to do. Not that we don't agree with you on a lot of stuff that you were saying, but we are required to do certain things, and that's just part of the job we have to do. But it is nice not having to have masks on in schools. I know I'm a teacher in a different district, and it's nice to be able to see kids' faces and be able to understand what they're saying and do all that stuff. So I just have to bring that up. It's nice that we're finally getting to that point where we can do that type of thing. So, all right, and that would be all my comments. And that leads us to the next point. 10.1, invitation to address the Board of Trustees on non-agendized items, and we do have a few takers, so I do have to read something out. Okay. Individual speakers shall be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda or non-agenda item. The board shall limit the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. With board consent, the president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentation, depending on the topic and the number of persons wishing to be heard. In addition, the president may take a poll of speakers for or against a particular issue, and may ask that the additional persons speak only if they have something new to add. And that being said, we have Jade Lyon about mandates and school climate.
Good evening, board. It's nice to see all of your faces and actually know what you guys fully look like besides just the pictures on the wall over there. If you guys could maybe give me a smile, no, you don't fully hate me, that'd be great. Okay, I want to start by saying you have no idea how many students and staff members I heard saying they were so happy they did not have to wear masks anymore. One kid said, and I quote, "Not wearing a mask is fire." On Monday, I was sitting in class, and it was like the whole atmosphere of the school had changed. Everyone was such in a great, happy mood. And also on Monday, there were about 7 to 10 kids in each class still wearing their masks, which is totally fine in their choice. But as of today, the numbers have slowly gone down. One of my teachers said it is comforting to see full faces, which is goes to show how dehumanizing the masks have been for all of us, and the negative mental and physical effects it has been having on so many people besides just myself. And Mr. Nelson, thank you for your comment about us being here. My mom felt it was really important for us to come and really voice our opinions. Now on to the fun stuff. First, we had to take a survey last Friday on the school's climate. And in the survey, there were a couple questionable things. Number one was the question about if our school was holding diversity, equity, and inclusion-related workshops, and one of the examples was white privilege. This is problematic for many reasons. First of all, it's taking a term that is being used in a negative way and putting it into the school environment. That term in itself is racist because it is targeting a certain group of people based on appearance alone. Also, I'd like to urge you guys on possibly considering writing a letter to the California Congress, which is advocating for medical freedom of choice to choose to take the vaccine or not for students and staff. Also, with the whole survey thing, most of the survey was fine. It was talking about just how much homework do we have? Is it enough or too little? Stuff like that. But when you bring that white privilege in, that just means to me that it's starting to make it a political thing, because white privilege has now become such a political term used in many ways. And I feel like using that term, it's drawing attention to the fact that I am clearly white. I mean, I'm white as can be. I wish I could get nice skin color, but I don't have that luck. But I feel like it's really just drawing attention and creating that divide between different races. And it shouldn't be. We should just be students. We should be students of Paloma Valley High School or Heritage High School. And we should be humans and people in the United States of America. I feel like that is really just causing the divide, and it doesn't need to be there. So thank you.
Thank you, Jade. Our next speaker on mandates is Emily Lyon.
Good evening, board and cabinet members. I know some of you may have been hoping when the masks went away, so did we, but you're not that lucky. I'm here tonight because there's more to this, obviously, than the mask thing. There are a lot of concerns for me as a parent. I just received the email a couple days ago regarding the masks, and at the bottom of the email, the thing that really caught my attention was it was quoted that, you know, we are committed to facilitating an optimal learning experience, ensuring the safety of our students and staff. And that caught me a little bit off guard, because while it sounds really good, it's a little alarming, because I don't know if you're aware, but communism uses safety as a means to facilitate control. And that's what we're starting to see in our society that's supposed to be free, is this element of, we're doing it in the name of safety, we're doing it to keep you safe. But when you really delve into things and you really research things, your eyes will be opened at the fact of how little it really has to do with safety. The other part of following that statement was that COVID vaccination remains one of the best ways to protect against the spread of the virus and against severe disease. That right there, the best ways to protect against the spread, that's misinformation. I mean, the medical world has come out and said that's not true. It does not prevent the spread. So while we're labeling other people like myself as spreading misinformation, that's being spread in an email to all people in the district. There are many medical experts that are speaking out against vaccinating children, and I know some of you are thinking, why are you speaking about this? It hasn't been mandated yet. But as I'm sure most of you are aware, there is a bill that's going through the legislation right now, SB 871, that is to add the vaccine mandate to the list of required vaccines for students. But not only does it add it, it removes all personal exemptions. The only exemption would be medical, which are, of course, impossible to get, or near impossible, I should say. there are many, many experts that are telling us that it's dangerous for children, that there's more risk for them with the vaccine than there is for the actual disease that we're claiming to want to protect them from. There are school districts, in fact, I think Orange County is the most local one I've heard of, that are now requiring EKGs and extra blood work for sports physicals to be cleared because more and more students are having heart-related issues. This is not coincidental. So I beg you, like the mask thing, things changed because parents were putting pressure. We had brave students at, apparently not many in our district, but in other districts that were standing up and they didn't know what to do with students. So what did districts do? They started sending letters to the governor. I know you guys have said your hands are tied, but you could send letters of concern. You could advocate for all students, not just some students. I understand you don't make the laws, but you do have more influence than you think. And if you send letters to our governor saying we're concerned about losing good students to this vaccine mandate, they will listen, or at least they may consider it further. So I urge you, please, please, don't wait until it's a crisis. Don't wait until you lose a whole group of students like my daughter. Make an effort now to allow all students to continue getting a free public education. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. And our last speaker on the topic of safety is Myra Arellano.
Good afternoon. To start with, I just want to let you guys know I'm nervous. This is my very first time standing, in front of a board regarding anything. But I thought it was important to come in today to make sure that I kind of got a feel for what went on during these board meetings. I see that there is a lot of recognition, patting in the back going on right before starting, which I think it's great. Everybody should be recognized for their efforts. We have the students doing videos of all the great things that we have going on in our schools. But who is bringing light to the issues that are really going on in our schools, like fighting, these fights that are being posted on social media? These kids that believe by posting these videos they're the next star at school, to the drug issue that we are having in our schools, I would need more time to get into it, but I really wanted to be here to shed light on the real issues that we're having and that nobody's shedding light in. I don't know why. The whole time I've been here, nobody has spoke on it, not in the audience, not the staff members. I refuse to believe that you guys do not know what's going on because I've spoken to many different people. Mr. Santos, principal of the year, that was unable to help me, his assistant principal, the counselors at the school. I actually met with this sir in the morning and Dr. Garcia, and everybody tells me the same thing. We are aware and we're trying to do something about it. A lot of resources, a lot of funds were removed from the school. Other than that, I haven't had much help. I was told if your student feels unsafe, always have them come to an adult at school and speak on why he feels unsafe, and somebody will help him. He doesn't have to go through what he went through again. Unfortunately, me as a parent have not been able to, this has been going on since last week on Wednesday, and until today, literally a week later, I kind of felt like, okay, let's take this a little bit more serious, because everybody was just letting me speak on it and letting me vent and letting me just talk, and okay, I'm very sorry you and your family are going through this. Other than that, something has to be done to help these children to go to school and feel safe and actually be safe. I don't know if that would be programs. I don't know. I mentioned to him, I contacted several news stations. I have contacted the mayor of the city of Perez. I have went above and beyond to try to get help, and it's been very difficult for me to do that as a parent. Now imagine my kid trying to get that help. Imagine your kid. Imagine your grandchild, whoever you have within the school district. You guys sit here and talk about how wonderful this school district is. I'm sorry, it's not. It's not, and somebody needs to address the issues that are really going on and shed light into them. And if it has to start with me, unfortunately, as a parent, we hear about it, but we don't take these issues seriously until it affects you directly. And it's unfortunate. And that's including myself. I knew these reports about kids doing drugs in the bathroom. I knew about these reports about kids doing the TikTok challenge to get attention on social media. I knew about these fights. But I never took it as important until I was in that situation and my son had to get a CAT scan with a broken nose. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ariano. Ariano, sorry. Okay. That takes us to 11.1, the consent calendar. Approval of consent calendar items. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Dr. Rouse, Dr. Freeman. Please vote. $11.1 passes, 5 in favor, 0 opposed. 12.1 information item, COVID-19 update.
Let's see. I know it's gonna make me mad as soon as you do, because I've got it. Look, I'm getting it, Joe. I'm hitting the right button.
It might have not released when Rachel did, or what's her name did it.
James is here.
He's the secret weapon.
That's this one right there. That's the one.
Oh, you need to update your,
Needs to be updated.
you need to update, you seriously.
It's this one, DNC board.
Yeah, you need to update, big time.
Yeah, we had this discussion last time.
Is it the right one? Yeah, it's just, he doesn't even have the updated.
That's not the right one.
Oh, that's not the.
That's the DAC board conference. You want DAC board one? Yeah.
There we go.
Cancel that
Okay.
one. That's still for
But
conference.
the staying still does apply, you need an update.
Okay.
There you go. Don't cancel that one.
Don't cancel this one.
We'll send somebody over to you.
Yeah, I can help you out there.
Okay. Ah, good Lord.
There you go.
It was there. DNC board.
There you go. It's gonna go right after I'm right here with you. You can do it.
There we go. Okay. Well, it is wonderful, just like we've heard from many of you today, and our families, that it's such a joy to have the masking gone and to, see our students' faces again and all of the things. It's also a joy to present to you a COVID update that has such good news. The cases, total cases for California now is 8,439,000. If we look back on 2/15, that was 8,259, or 8,259,000. Our average daily now for the state is 3,306, but if we look back a month ago, it was 22,890. Look at the staggering amount that it's come down from 22,000 cases plus a day to just over 3,000 cases a day. In terms of new cases per 100,000, a month ago was 51%. Today, 7.6% per 100,000. So 7.6 people per 100,000. So a huge increase. Sadly, we do have to always look at the amount of people that we've lost. That number has, increased since last month, but it is going down. The daily average a month ago was 166 people. We're down to 104 now. And when we look at the test positivity rate of 5.7 a month ago and 1.5 today, we hope to see a stark increase or decrease in the amount of deaths when we report out to you next month. So these are all great indicators that, things are moving in a much more positive direction. For Riverside County, we have 103 people hospitalized currently. A month ago, that was 86. But if you remember last month, I said we're always lagging in that one criteria. when we had that big spike in numbers, we will see an increase in deaths and hospitalizations. So we're anticipating that next month we report out to you, we will finally see. Yes, sir.
Didn't that say last month, like 486? ICU was 86?
I'm sorry, I was looking at here, 103 currently hospitalized.
And if you go straight across, last month was 486, not just 86. ICU was 86.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I'm sorry. It's 486, so it's gone down significantly. Yeah, I was looking down here at 215. Thank you so much. So yes, it was 486, so it has gone down significantly. It's all just such good news that as a county, 2.9%. Thank you, Mr. Nelson. And we're now at 5.9, our daily case rate in the county. We added this slide this time, particularly in light of some of the things that you were talking about, Dr. Raux, that we always have to be thinking in terms of equity and the students and the people we serve in our county. And so we added some of this demographic data, and if you look on the right side here, it just shows that overall the number of cases that, as you break it down by ethnic groups, and that we are very aware that the largest impact has been on our Hispanic Latino communities, 222,000 cases. Our African American community, 627. And we just always want the board to know that as we serve students, it's important to realize the economic or the medical or all of the things that are factors that impact our students' lives. Because as you spoke of some of the research, we know that the challenges that our various communities face have a direct impact on their ability to access their education and their success. So part of diversity and equity is recognizing challenges within the community. Of course, the biggest news is that we have good news that we don't have the mask mandate anymore, and that began on Monday, March 14th. And as many of you have said, Mr. Nelson said, we're so happy to see our students' faces again. And I can take any questions that you may have regarding COVID update. Or any thoughts? Or
Yes, I don't have a question, it's just a comment or a thought. I respectfully disagree with you that the biggest news is that we are not wearing masks.
Yes,
I
sir.
think the biggest news is the decrease in people who are dying.
Yes, sir.
Because for people who die, there is no tomorrow.
Yes.
The mask is an inconvenience. And for some people might create some health issues.
Sure.
But they can go to the doctor or make a specific arrangement or something. But for somebody who died, that's it.
Yes.
So for me, looking at that data of the number of people who are not dying, that's the best, the most wonderful news that we can have.
I can go back to that
Because fortunately, I have not experienced that at the family level, but I have really close friends. Today I was talking with a close friend at the district level in the other district. She lost her husband. He was hospitalized on December 22nd. January 14, I believe, he passed away. She, her kids, they are suffering. So having the inconvenience, and I respect the opinion of everybody, because all of us, we have the right to express our opinions. It's a constitutional right based on the First Amendment, right, of freedom of speech. But I think the reduction in deaths, that's the great thing that you are sharing with us.
Well, I think
Thank you, sir.
I agree with you, and I think it's great to point that out, that is the most important thing, obviously. I think as educators, when we see the students every day, the excitement, I will say, this week was to lose the mask on a day-to-day at our schools. But that does correlate to the larger point, the most important point you're saying, that we care about the health and the wellness of the families that we serve.
Yeah. And I'm not dismissing the excitement. I was excited also, right?
I'm agreeing with you. It's a good note.
Right? It's
a
a
good note.
great thing. But I think the most important one, at least for me, is that.
And I want to publicly agree, absolutely. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Bruff.
I'm going to pull up the next one for Ms. Zerold, since
Okay.
I'm connected here.
While you're doing that, I will introduce it.
Okay.
12.2 is an information item, Paris Union High School District A to G Completion Improvement Grant Plan. Ms. Zero.
All right, good evening, President Nelson and Board, Superintendent Mr. Bennett, and Cabinet members. I will be brief. This is very similar to the presentation that we heard with CMI. This is a grant that we have received as a district, giving us some additional money and also requiring an additional plan for us to put together. So you'll get to hear about the plan today. As always, we want to align our plans with our LCAP goals, and this is particularly focused around Goal 2. The A to G Completion Improvement Grant is to really focus on the A to G completion and the eligibility of our students in grades 9 through 12. The funds should be specifically used to increase that A to G course completion for our students. When looking at the funding, it's based on our unduplicated pupils, looking at money through 25-26, and the total amount of money that will be allocated to us as a district is $2,523,432. And just continuing to keep all of our plans aligned, we have talked about several of our plans over the course of this year. The A to G Completion Improvement Grant is the next grant that we'll be receiving. You'll see that it is for the next 5 years. We will be using the money starting in the beginning of the 2022-23 school year, so working on the plan as we move into the preparations for next year. So we will be looking to hire 1 district counselor, 2 site counselors. These counselors will be rotated from school to school to help support the current site counselors with A to G completion conversations with students. They'll be working on credit recovery, implementing interventions, really trying to allow our site counselors that have caseloads of 500 students an additional support for the A to G conversations with our students and what that looks like through professional development, implementation of additional courses of rigor. Those are AP classes, dual enrollment classes. We're continuing to look at additional opportunities for our students to take those courses. Going into next school year, we've been able to work with MSJC in having online dual enrollment classes so that students across the district have access to courses that might not be offered on their campus. For example, we have a class at Paris High that will be offered district-wide as opposed to just on campus for our Paris High students. So we're excited about that. That'll allow us to continue to offer classes. Even if they have lower enrollment, we get to offer them across the district. So that should increase the number of dual enrollment classes that we're offering to our students. Working on course revisions and development, any new courses. Dr. Rao mentioned the ethnic studies. That's a conversation that we are having. We're working through our history social science adoption this school year, and the ethnic studies is on the next docket for next school year to really start those conversations with the committee. We want to make sure that it is incorporating all of our ethnic backgrounds as well as just including that diversity that's really important for all of our students to have access to. And then A to G transcript audits. We've done these for several years. I think really with the pandemic, we've seen some challenges with students staying on track. So we really want to get back to looking at those A to G audits, not just starting in the junior year, but looking at that every single year. So 9th grade students complete their 9th grade school year. We really want to audit those transcripts and get those kids into a remediation immediately after their 9th grade year, rather than a lot of times they like to push down and wait till their junior or senior year to make up those classes. We want to get a hold of them right in their 9th grade year to make up those courses. And then the last item is data tracking and monitoring. This is working with our course management portal, which it used to be UC Doorways, making sure that all of the courses that are in our doorways are aligned with all of our schools, as well as CCGI and monitoring the courses and the completion, the students that are on track through the CCGI dashboard. This is the breakdown of just the financials over the course of those 5 years. The staffing is for those 3 counselors, and then the incentives and supports. Those would be materials and supplies, any type of incentives that we would be working with students on, as well as just materials that we might need to implement for the support of the students. So again, totaling the $2,523,432 at $523,432. Any questions? All right, thank you.
All right, moving on to 13.1, information item, discipline, February 2022 monthly suspension report. 14.1 is an action item, personnel, certificated personnel action items. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Dr. Arouse,
Second.
Dr. Freeman. Please vote. It says you haven't voted yet. Have you? Is it up on your screen? Okay. Okay. All right. 14.1 passes, 5 in favor, 0 opposed. 14.2 is also an action item, personnel, classified personnel action items. Do I have a motion? Mr. Stafford? I think Dr. Arouse beat you, Trustee Vallejo.
So you're one.
All right. Please vote. And for 14.2 also passes, 5 in favor, 0 opposed. 14.3 personnel, memorandum of understanding between the Paris Union High School District and the California School Employees Association and its chapter, Paris Valley number 469, regarding the Juneteenth holiday. Do I have a motion? She got you on that one.
Second.
Dr. Freeman also got you on that one. All right, this is for the Juneteenth holiday. Can you please elaborate a little bit?
Yes, I
please?
was going to ask Mr. Skorpanich to share what we've done with our classified union on.
So I'll give you a brief summary of what this is. So during the last school year, the 2021 school year, the day before the holiday, the president designated June 19th as a federal holiday. And in so doing, that since June 19th fell on a Saturday, the actual holiday was observed on Friday, the 18th. And the proclamation came out the evening of Thursday, the 17th, which made it very difficult to identify a work holiday immediately the following day. Because it was a federal holiday and not necessarily designated as a state holiday, there's ambiguity between whether the states would recognize it or not. Federal holidays automatically get recognized by federal workers, but in schools and school districts we're state employees and state workers, and so there was some ambiguity as a result of that. Now, fast forward several months, and that ambiguity has provided more clarity where the June 18th of last year should have been treated as a holiday. In fact, there's legislation right now to make Juneteenth a state holiday moving forward, so there's no longer any confusion about this. But in the meantime, we've worked out with the Classified School Employees Association MOU that would go kind of back in time and recognize Juneteenth for the 2021 school year as a holiday and provide either a floating holiday for those individuals that were in paid status on that day, or provide additional payment for those employees that were paid on a time card and worked on June 18th of 2021. And then moving forward, we've placed on our calendars Juneteenth as a holiday for this year and subsequent years in anticipation of the legislation making this official. But this year is Sunday, right? It is a Sunday, and so when it's Sunday, then the holiday is observed on Monday. On Monday, okay, okay, wonderful.
Any other questions? Dr. Freeman?
Yeah, for those who do not know what we're talking about necessarily, could you describe what Juneteenth is?
Yeah, absolutely. So what Juneteenth is it's listed in the summary right here, but it commemorates the end of slavery in the United States. It is obviously a huge and honorable event to recognize. And this is not related, it's at the end of the Civil War, right? Not the proclamation of the end of slavery, but
It's actually, it's when it's the Emancipation Proclamation was
yeah,
given?
not by what Abraham,
It's actually the end of the last group of
yeah. At the,
I believe it was
I
Texas.
believe it's at the
Yeah,
at the end
it
of
started
the-
as a Texas
at the end of the Civil
holiday,
War.
yes.
Yeah, Yes. Okay, thank you. Wonderful.
Okay, any other questions, comments? No? Okay. Please vote. And 14.3 passes, 5 in favor, 0 opposed. 14.4 action item, resolution number 19:21 to 22, resolution authorizing piggyback for purchase of school furnishings, office furniture, and accessories. This will be funded through various facilities funds and not the general fund at an estimated amount of $815,000. Do I have a motion?
Does it say, did you say not the general fund?
Not the general fund.
It
Oh,
says
and
it-
the general fund. I'm sorry.
There
Did I
you
say
go.
not the general fund? I'm sorry, and the general fund.
Thank you.
My bad. Thank you for clarifying that for me. Do I have a motion though?
So moved.
Dr. Freeman and Dr. Arouse? Any questions on this? No? Okay, please vote. All right, 14.4 passes 5 in favor, 0 opposed. 14.5, action item, resolution number 20:21 to 22, resolution for establishing Fund 40, special reserve fund for capital outlay projects. This has no fiscal impact. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Dr. Freeman, Trustee Vallejo, please vote. I'm sorry, do you have a question? By all means. And turn your mic on so we can.
The funds do exist at this point, but just have not been put into these various accounts.
So it's one account, and yes, the funds do exist. They're currently held within, Alicia, correct me if I misspeak here, they're currently held within Fund 06, which is the restricted general fund.
Mhm.
We're moving them to Fund 40, which is a new, well, it's not a new fund, we've had it before, but we're sort of reestablishing it so that we can more appropriately account for the funds since they are facilities funds.
So it's strictly facilities? Okay.
They don't want people thinking that that's general fund use.
That's precisely it.
Okay, yes, okay. Okay, thank you.
No. I'll leave that to you. You're more than welcome to it. Any other questions? No? Okay. Now go ahead and please vote. All right. 14.5 passes, 5 in favor, 0 opposed. 14.6, resolution number 21:21 to 22, resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Paris Union High School District adopting fund balance policies as required by Governmental Accounting Standards Board 54. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Dr. Arouse?
Second.
Dr. Freeman? Anybody need clarification on this one? No? Okay, please vote. .6 also passes, 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Did they not show up? They didn't show up? Okay. 14.7, approval of the 2021-22 second interim financial report with a positive certification of the Paris Union High School District's financial condition with no fiscal impact. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Dr. Freeman, Trustee Vallejo. I'm sure we're going to have a little presentation for this one, just to give us a reason why we should vote this way.
It's all good this time. So, good evening, President Nielsen, Board, Superintendent Bennett, and Cabinet. I'm going to go over the second interim today. I guess I can do it right. So we'll start with the governor's proposals for 22-23. And I just want to take you back a couple of years. Doesn't seem like it seems actually longer than a couple of years, but a couple of years when we first started this pandemic, the state budget was looking at a $54 million deficit as a result of the COVID pandemic. And districts were looking at having to cut, millions of dollars and have state deferred cash payments, and COLAs were suspended. So it was a lot different environment than what we're looking at right now. The governor's 22-23 budget is built on a solid foundation with an estimated $45.7 billion budget, and 95% of that comes from the three big taxes, which is, of course, personal income tax, sales and use tax, and then capital gains. So we find ourselves in a positive economic environment within the state of California with their revenues. However, Californians are experiencing very daunting daily challenges with the increase in services and goods due to the surplus, or inflation, I should say. I did hear on a podcast on my lunch today with the federal chairman, Powell, stating that they recognize that the inflation is extremely high. I think it's as high as it's been since 1982 at 7.5%, and their goal is to bring it down to 2%. But of course, I'm sure that will take some time, and that's a whole different topic. So there's several things that we're thankful in the governor's proposal. There is a cost of living adjustment of 5.33%, which is significantly higher than what we've projected or what was projected in the state budgets in the past, and you'll see that in a little bit. There are definitely things that are not addressed in the proposed budget, such as the rising pension cost. They are increasing at least 2%. PERS will be at least 3%. You'll see that in a little bit. And it does not address the impact of the universal meals that have on the unduplicated pupil count, and you'll see that also in a few minutes. So the 2022-23 budget is at an all-time high, but there are many strings attached. So for the first time, most school districts will have to spend down their reserves or be prepared to commit anything over the 10% cap. I believe I mentioned that to you at the first interim. You may or not remember because, I try to go through these super fast. And then, of course, and you'll see this in a very telltale slide here in a few minutes, that the lion's share of the Prop 98 funding is categoricals, which has additional strings. So this is just a chart of the Prop 98 guarantee over time, and you can kind of see the ebbs and flows and the ups and downs of the Prop 98 over time. But this is a chart that I was talking about where you can see the lion's share of our funding is coming through with categorical funding. You may or may not recall that when LCFF was developed, it was to collapse a lot of that categorical funding to give districts more local control. But as time is moving on, we're seeing more and more categorical funding and less core funding. This slide, I think, is very telling, and one of the reasons why, projections change so rapidly from, one reporting period to the next. When you look at 2 years ago, when we brought second interim, we were estimating a 2.82% COLA at second interim, and then last year it was 2.98%. This year, right now, it's 5.33, and I've heard that it's estimated to be over 6% by the time the budget is actually adopted. So you can see that's quite a significant change, and you'll see how that affects our projected ending fund balance. So this slide is just a slide to remind us that while the COLA is higher, and we do appreciate that, that districts are still facing those ongoing costs that would mostly come from unrestricted funds and not so much categoricals of the increases in STRS and PERS. And as I mentioned before, STRS will increase by over 2% and PERS over 3%, and then unemployment stays pretty high compared to what we were used to before the pandemic. So special ed has been getting increases in their base rate, which we greatly appreciate. They are getting COLA funded. There's been years in the past where COLA was not funded for special ed. But unfortunately, we're still in an environment where special ed costs greatly outpace the revenues. So that does still then require quite the contribution from the unrestricted general fund. So the ADA cliff, I'm sure many of you have heard about this. This has been an ongoing topic since the beginning of the pandemic. And you'll kind of get a clearer picture of that in a future slide, but basically it's become known as the two-headed monster, one being a decrease in enrollment, which we fortunately are not facing at this time for our specific district, but it is statewide. And then, of course, the other ugly monster of the ADA to enrollment ratio, which statewide and in Paris, we are seeing significant decreases in our actual ADA. And a lot of that, I believe, is due mainly to the COVID and independent study. So these are some of the proposed solutions to help districts not go like nosedive like Wile E. Coyote down the cliff, but maybe a little softer landing, you know, how the Roadrunner just, you know, automatically ended up there. Maybe it'd be something like that. So, and then I also talked before about the cap on the reserve. So that's also known as the rainy day fund. And so there were 4 elements that had to be met in order for this to be triggered. And so those elements have been met. And so this will be effective for our 22-23 budget year. So commitments will be forthcoming to you, and you'll see the ending fund balance and what those will look like. So for our specific information, I thought I would just kind of remind everybody what the LCFF was comprised of. The greatest pot, obviously, is our P2 ADA, and then you add on to that the grade span adjustment for us. We get the 9 through 12 for CTE, and then our UPP has a big impact for our supplemental concentration dollars. So speaking of UPP, our single year this year is 65.51, where that may not sound horrible. Just a reminder, last year we were at 75.25, so it's a decline of almost 10%. 670 students from prior year, less are identified in that UPP category. In dollars, this equates to about a $1.6 million loss in categorical and supplemental concentration funds. So in comparison to what we're projecting for 22-23, we're increasing the single year UPP, hoping that this was just kind of an anomaly with, you know, still people so into the COVID mode and not filling out those applications. And, you know, with the universal meal program, thinking that maybe they didn't need to do that and, you know, it didn't really affect anything. But it does have an overall effect on our 3-year average, which is what we're ultimately funded off of. But it's important to see what the single year is doing because it does affect the average. And then going back, so if you see what we're funded at now for 9 through 12 is the $12,283. Next year is projected for the $13,104, so that's like an $821 increase. But if our attendance stays low and there's not an initiative to make that landing softer, that's going to be quite a hit for us, if you will. So this is kind of more telltale where you can kind of see the ADA to enrollment. So you may remember that because of the pandemic, well, districts are already afforded the prior year guarantee, right? So if our attendance is lower in one year in comparison to the prior year, we'll get funded off the prior year. We did not collect ADA for 2021. So for 2021, we were funded off of 1920. So for 21-22, we would still be guaranteed that prior year funding. So we're estimating that we're still going to get the prior year funding. Our P1 attendance was actually at 88.67. So that's quite historically low for our district. We normally average around 93%. So as an example, going into talking about the cliff, if something was not resolved and we didn't make that 91.83, we would not get funded the 93.04, right, which is what we've been funded off of. We would get funded off of the 88, whatever that ends up being. Now, typically from P1 to P2, ADA goes down, not up. There are things that you can do to mitigate that with Saturday schools and whatnot, but you know, the increase is still not generally significant. So generally, kids come to school more at the beginning of the school than they do towards the end of school. So you may notice, and I don't know if you remember, but in the first interim, we were projecting deficit spending even through our out years. And we're not projecting that anymore, and that's mostly due to the increase in the COLA, going from that 2.82, I believe was the last one, to the 5.33, and then each year also went up. So we will be bringing forth for you to commit anything above the 10% cap. So we are recommending positive certification. We will obviously be able to meet our current year financial obligations as well as our 2 out years. And hopefully we'll get an early budget again and be able to have better estimates. But our next checkpoint, of course, is the May revision. And then we will be presenting the adopted budget, public hearing on June 6th, and then formal adoption on the 15th with the LCAP. Is there any questions? Yes, sir.
Couple of them that are related. This cap on reserves, how are we able to know how to spend down to 10% when they haven't told us what the actual budget is?
Well, it's all estimated, right?
Okay. Yeah, I guess so. That's what I thought. Okay, the other thing is that how are we able to identify for them what is our ending balance rather than reserves, because they're not the same thing?
Well, the total percentage, so our minimum reserve, that 3% is included in there, right? So really, we could have the 10%. So if you look back, if we're looking at 22, 23, we're looking at being 18.54%. So 8.54% of that we're going to need to bring to you in commitments in order to get down to that.
And then that's all going to change when they give you the real money?
Yes.
And then they take it back?
Yes, but I was informed by our county, at Riverside County, and we'll double check with the auditors that we won't have to bring it back to you every time there's a little bit of a change. If there's a significant change, obviously we would want to bring it back to you. But, you know, projections are going to change. Budgets are breathing, living documents, and they're constantly going to change.
I'm glad I don't have that job. Okay. As long as you understand.
We could get opening for you.
No, you said 18 point whatever percent.
No.
At 18 point whatever percent actual reserves, or is that what our ending balance is?
That's what our ending balance is projected to be, the total percentage. So 10% of that we can just leave in the ending fund balance for economic reserves or whatever. The other 8.54 we need to commit to something, and it can be more economic reserves. If you remember, you know, the state recommendation that we have to have is 3%, right? And you guys just approved to have that be greater, which is great, because 3% only covers about 10 days of payroll, so that won't even make a full month.
Okay.
So now we're up to
I'm getting
20.
a headache, so never mind.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm just glad I don't have that business.
And those are great questions, if you don't mind me interrupting. I don't think I've ever gone a presentation of yours without interrupting.
No, no.
But, you know, this is new, right? This is becoming effective next year. So districts throughout the state and throughout the county, we're all strategizing and what is the best way to you know, do this. So we're not bringing, you know, every time there's a dollar change, because you're right, Dr. Freeman, these are estimates. And so I think we'll have a little bit better, you know, idea.
I'd tell them I was estimating at 9.95%, even if it was 18.
Yeah, so.
Probably why you wouldn't want me in charge of it. Okay, thank you.
Any
No? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Fogarty. All right, we already have a first and a second, so I'm going to call for a vote. And 14.7 passes, 5 in favor, 0 opposed. 14.8, SY 2022-23, annual renewal of services for membership in the Super Co-op for the United States Department of Agriculture Foods. This is funded through the Nutrition Services Fund in the amount not to exceed $420,000, not the general fund. This one is not the general fund. I read that correctly this time. All right, do I have a motion?
So moved. Since it's not-
Mr. Stafford had it, and I believe
Second.
that would give Dr. Freeman the second. Any questions? No? Allow us to buy food. That's always good. Please vote. $14.8 passes, 5 in favor, 0 opposed. 14.9, authorization for purchase order, action item, authorization for purchase orders above 50,000. This is from March 2022. This is what we've talked about before, but I do need a motion.
So move.
Dr. Arouse. Trustee Stafford, anybody have any questions on this? I think we've talked about it ad nauseum. Okay, we're good. Good. All right, please vote. All right, 14.9 passes, 5 in favor, 0 opposed. It brings us to 14.10. This is a hearing on a bid protest submitted by Exact Technology Solutions concerning the RFP number 022-822 that's PUHSD Structured Cabling Services. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Trustee Stafford. I still need to get a motion to open this up, correct? Yes, okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Trustee Stafford had the motion. I'm sorry, who had the second? Dr. Arouse? Okay. All right, and with that, I have a script to read. All right, we will now consider item 14.10, hearing of bid protest by Exact Technology Solutions Incorporated concerning the RFP number 022-822. This is PUHSD Structured Cabling Services. If Exact wishes to comment on the matter, they will be provided 10 minutes to address the board regarding the bid protest. If any other member of the public who submitted a public comment card wishes to comment on the matter, they will be provided the standard 3 minutes to address the board. At the conclusion of all public comments, the district's legal counsel, Gretchen Shipley, will provide the board with information on the bid protest and will be available to answer any questions the board may have. Following comments by the district's legal counsel, Exact will be permitted an additional 3 minutes to make any rebuttal statement. Does any representative of Exact wish to comment on this matter? Seeing none, it appears that Exact has opted not to pursue their protest by failing to appear at this hearing that they requested. Did any members of the public submit a comment card?
No comments from the public.
Okay. At this time, the district's legal counsel, Gretchen Shipley, will provide information on the bid protest.
Good evening and thank you. Seeing that the protester has not followed through with their appeal, I am happy in the interest of time to cut it short and simply recommend that you all reject the protest that they filed. On the other hand, I am prepared and happy to provide an explanation and answer any questions regarding the underlying matter.
None, doesn't look like there were any for you.
Okay, thank you. And I regret that they wasted their time. They specifically requested a hearing this evening, and we wanted to honor the procedures and their wishes, and thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, so this hearing is now closed. Was I supposed to give a time for the start of the public hearing? It didn't. There wasn't listed one here, so. Well, let's say we open it at 6:45 and we are closing it at 6:47. Okay, the board will now consider a motion to reject or accept the protest by Exact. Do I have a motion to reject or accept?
I make a motion
Trustees
to
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
I make a motion to reject.
Okay. So Dr. Arauz had the motion, I'm sorry, I jumped the gun on that. To reject, do I have a second? Okay, trustee Stafford seconds. Okay, we have a motion to reject the bid protest, so please vote. Okay, so that passes 5 in favor, 0 opposed, so the protest is rejected. The next item for consideration is number 14.11. It's resolution number 23:21-22, resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Paris Union High School District authorizing procurement of structured cabling services. This is funded through the general fund in the amount of $248,720. Do I have a motion? Mr. Stafford, Ms. Vallejo, please vote. And 14.11 passes 5 in favor, 0 opposed. That takes us to information item 15.1, curriculum, revised science course, advanced biology. This does meet A to G requirements. 15.2 is another information item, new career technical education course under the RCOE Entrepreneurship Self-Employment Sector. RCOE Advanced Business Management. This is a course is in the process to meet A to G requirements. Approval. 15.3 is also an information item, revolving cash report, February 2022. 15.4 is an action item. These are board policies for students, Series 5000. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Dr. Arauz? Is it? Okay, it says action, and it gives me option for a movement motion. This is just the first three. Okay. Okay, so this was an information item. I'm sorry. So.
That was a pre-motion.
Okay, 15.5 is also an information item. This is board policies for instruction, Series 6000. Series 6000. And 16.1 is an action item for closed session if necessary.
Not necessary
That
this
is a
evening.
very good answer. Do not need to reconvene. I better be. I've already gone past it. 18.1 is an information item, other items by the superintendent.
Nothing.
Okay, another good answer. All right, 19.1, other items by the Board of Trustees. Dr. Arauz?
Nothing, sir.
Dr. Freeman?
Nada.
Trustee Vallejo? Trustee Stafford? Nothing from me. All good answers across the board. And we've got a motion for adjournment for 20.1. Do I have a motion?
Second.
All right. Trustee Vallejo? Dr. Arauz, please vote. And 20.1 passes 5 in favor, 0 opposed, and we are adjourned at 6:51.